Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unanswered Questions. Sometimes during our live student broadcasting, we don't get enough time to answer all the questions from classrooms. So we're going to answer some of the top upvoted questions from, what was last month?
Last month?
Was it, what was it?
Last month was April.
April, I'm losing track.
It was my birthday.
Right. April, birthday, right. From April. All right, so let's get right into it. First question. How do I prevent viruses from entering my device?
Wear a mask. Oh, not those types of viruses. Just saying.
Well, if it's a shared device, if it's a communally owned device,
right.
I mean, that's a possibility. But if we're talking about like tech viruses, number one, it's usually going to be user error. It's difficult for like some random hacker to randomly hack into you if you're doing everything right. It's usually if you're downloading, clicking on things you shouldn't be downloading in the first place.
Right. And then good antivirus protection, right?
Yeah. That will, in case you do happen to make a mistake.
Like we use Bitdefender, right?
Here in the studio, we've used Bitdefender for
There's others out there as well, but a good virus protection goes a long way as well. Just understand that most virus protection software, they're playing a game of catch up, right? Like they are, because these things kind of mutate very quickly. So they're constantly playing a game of catch up. Having said that, it's a very good option to have on your system.
How do we prevent hackers from hacking us without deleting apps?
Say that 10 times quickly. It's like, yeah. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How do we prevent hackers from hacking us without deleting apps?
So let me try to understand the question. Sometimes a solution. Maybe you download a bad program. Maybe there's a bad piece of code in there somewhere. Maybe the solution is to delete the app. That's one possibility. Sometimes antivirus software solutions, they can, remove the particular code from the app, but it depends on what the virus is.
Yeah, the reality is there may be times where you have no other option, right? It's just a fact that sometimes people's laptops, phones are so bad that you just have to toss them and get something new.
Yeah.
Right?
Are there apps that are less secure than others? I mean, there could be. I mean, sure. I mean,
what's the definition of secure, though, right?
Right. If I am anyone can make an app and anyone can make a mistake in their code. So if we're talking about any of like the mainstream top 20 apps in the App Store that have an entire team of programmers behind them, they're relatively pretty secure from like rando external hackers.
However, we do have to be aware. Remember that incident a couple of years ago? It was on the iTunes Store, the Android Store, the Flashlight app, right? That when people downloaded, it was just malware, right?
Yeah, there can be.
Out of a reputable store, right? So sometimes even the reputable stores don't necessarily check to make sure that the app in and of itself is what it says it is.
Yeah, there have been cases of someone hacking a developer's account and uploading a malicious app. Yeah, so that's possibilities.
Do the research on it first, right? Before you think about downloading it.
Yeah.
I think would always be one of the best things. Like there's a lot of companies out there that are reviewing these apps all the time. So check out what people are saying about this, especially those in the security industry.
Yeah, it's usually like the mainstream top apps are usually the good ones.
Yeah, for sure.
What if someone hacks my account? What should I do? Well, first step's going to be usually change your password. That most of the time that works. That kicks a hacker out unless they know your new password. Very unlikely. That's like the first immediate step. If that doesn't work, you got to work quickly. The longer a hacker's in your account, the harder it's going to be to kick them out because they're going to work hard to stay in there. Some social networks, you can submit your photo ID to recover your account, although the success rate of that is unknown and can take a long time to actually be processed.
Yeah, a good example of that, Brent, is we've helped a number of students whose Instagram accounts get taken over, and they apply to Instagram, and it can take days, even weeks sometimes to recover their account. So
yeah. Is Discord actually bad? Not inherently. It depends if you are going to unsafe, unmodded Discord servers where anyone can say anything.
Like NS. FW sites.
Not safe for work sites.
Yeah.
Yes. It depends on how you use it. Discord is like a classic forums in the old school internet, just more modernized.
Right.
So anyone can say anything.
Yeah, there's a variety of Discord servers that just aren't PG-13, right? Like there are or even X-rated, not places that you should really go, but that's a choice that you make by going into those sites. But I agree with you. It's like any other app or tool. It's just a tool. It's how you use it that makes it good or bad.
Is War Thunder safe?
Oh, that's your question.
Well, it's a free to play game, which is fine. Kind of similar to Fortnite. I know you play World of Tanks. It's a very similar game to that.
Yeah.
Except I think War Thunder, you can have planes and such. There's more vehicles than just tanks. So I haven't seen anything inherently wrong with it. So although being a free to play game, obviously they're going to push their microtransactions. Some people can get caught up in that. But overall, there's nothing inherently wrong with the game from what I have seen.
I agree.
Can V-Bucks be stolen from Fortnite?
What's V-Bucks, Brandon?
That is the Fortnite's in-game premium currency.
And how do you get V-Bucks?
Typically, you can get it from two ways. You can play the game a lot, and you get like a little bit. They reward you with little crumbs, and then you can use that to purchase premium skins and whatnot. So cosmetics,
pay for them?
Or you can pay for them and buy gift cards for them, or just enter your credit card to buy them directly.
And so because of that, it's vulnerable to fraud, right?
Yeah, so someone can steal V-Bucks. Primarily, they're going to want to log into your account, steal your account password, log in, and then gift them themselves the items. That's one way. Or someone offers you a free V-Bucks scam.
At a discount.
Yes.
Get V-Bucks for a discount.
Or you're just buying V-Buck gift cards from non-reputable spaces. Not as if they're going to steal V-Bucks from you, but maybe they're looking to steal the credit card you're using to buy the gift card.
Exactly.
Do you recommend VPNs?
Absolutely, we do. This is kind of a double-edged sword. Like schools hate it when we say that sometimes because we know that teens use VPNs to bypass school filters. But from a safety standpoint and a security standpoint, especially when you're using open Wi-Fi, VPNs are a must. So a really good example, we just did a presentation for a group of students that are heading off to the four corners of the earth during spring break as a part of their growth, right? And so when you're traveling to other countries, what's one of the first things you do? You look for the open free Wi-Fi, but we know that in a lot of these other countries, the criminal element is hunting those Wi-Fis, including at airports, that make what it is you're doing online vulnerable. So that's why when you're traveling, especially when you're using any kind of open Wi-Fi, using a VPN is definitely the way to go.
Yep. Should we stick to open source software instead of paid alternatives? Well, it depends on what's available, right? So not all things you want to do have an open source version, and not all open source projects are going to be as user-friendly or as robust or feature-rich as what you're looking for.
I mean, a good example of that, we get this a lot when it comes to VPNs because there's a lot of free VPNs out there, but they're free because they're collecting your information and selling it to their financial benefit.
Yeah, but they're not. Some VPNs use open source encryption software, which that is good. So if you're using a VPN that's using the let's say Open VPN, that's a pretty good encryption standard.
Right.
So that's good. So even some paid software solutions have open source features built in, which it allows you to be more familiar and more confident in what their code is and how they're running because of those purposes.
Right.
How many people get hacked every year? Well, I mean,
again, you've spoken about this. When people say hacked, they think different things, right? Like, is there a difference between technically being hacked and an account takeover, or for
me, I view that the same way.
Okay.
It's someone using your software or hardware unauthorized. Right. That's kind of how I view it.
Okay.
But yeah, some people think hacking is like, code in the movies, but it can be as simple as guessing someone's password. Right. So most of the time, that's what it is. It's nothing as glamorous as the movies.
Yeah.
How many get hacked every year? Hard to say. There's tons that don't get reported.
Yeah, lots. Especially companies, right? And they don't want to report it because from a PR standpoint.
What?
Like just a good example of that, Brandon. We watched an HBO special last night. Like I didn't know that a huge hotel chain, I think it was Sands in Las Vegas, was hacked by the North Koreans. Right? Like you just don't hear about. They kept it private for so long, and it's just come to light recently. Right? So, yeah.
What are the biggest hacks or scams you know of?
I know of one where a person who was involved in industry, big, like in banking and that kind of stuff, was scammed out of like 50 or $60 million because the hacker was using AI to pretend to be somebody who they weren't, that the target believed were. And as a result of that, he gave $50 million plus to this person thinking they were real when in fact they weren't.
Yeah. In terms of data breaches, I know Facebook in the past has had some of the largest data breaches where they had a flaw in their code and then all the data they collected on people were then publicly available. So, those are some of the, financial ones of single one-off big ones. But in terms of like how many people, there's quite some interesting ways on how hackers get in.
Which kind of answers the next question: is any major company being hacked like Google? Well, yeah, you just said it, Facebook, right?
Yep.
So, and a lot of these major companies aren't going to make these types of intrusions public anyways because they know that it's bad for business.
Can a Tesla be hacked? Well, I guess anything is technically possible. I know some security researchers in the past, when they've had access and been plugging into their computer, have been able to do some takeovers.
Like automatic braking, turning on the windshield wipers.
Yeah.
All that
Although most of that usually requires you having physical access to the device of the car. So anything is possible. But usually when there's a problem, then usually the car manufacturers do issue a fix via an update.
Yeah.
How safe is the camera on a typical laptop? Can people see you? By default, it's good, and the only way someone's going to randomly access your camera is if they get a virus or bad piece of code on your computer. So, as long as what you're doing is safe and appropriate and downloading from proper app stores and not random people off random websites. And if your security pops up going, hey, someone wants to access your camera, actually read your security pop up and go, do I actually want to allow this?
Even better, I just say put a little Band-Aid over it. If you're not using it, just put a little Band-Aid. Stay away from Scotch tape or stickies because it leaves a film on the screen. Whereas if you just get like those little round bandages you get when you get a needle and just put it over the camera when you're not using it, problem solved.
That works. Can police officers see your nudes?
I'll answer that. Yes, if they're conducting an investigation, they're exempt under the Criminal Code of Canada to have a look at nudes, including those under the age of 18, which would technically, although I'm not a police officer anymore, if I looked at it would be illegal. But when I was a police officer, I could look at them for the purposes of conducting an investigation.
Yeah. What if AI is used to imitate you using your voice or image?
That's happening.
Yeah.
I just spoke about that bank employee that got done. Another one that's being done now is targeting parents where maybe their child is going to Hawaii. They've advertised it that they're going to Hawaii, or maybe let's say they're going to another country where maybe there's some problems going on. Hacker now finds audio video of the child who's on YouTube doing a YouTube. So what do? All they need is a 3-second capture of their voice. AI can now replicate that voice, and now AI can also replicate what they look like. And now what they do is they connect with the parent saying, hey, mom, dad, I'm in Yugoslavia right now. I just got arrested. I'm in jail. I need some money to bail myself out, because they are in Yugoslavia, unreal. But the hacker uses that to their advantage. And as a result of that, parents are now being scammed out of money. There's another great example of that, right? Yeah. So that's why one of the things I say to people now is that if you're ever contacted, because today it's almost like you have to prove that what you're seeing online is true. Remember, it used to be the other way around. Now it's because of AI. I think it's flipped the narrative, right? So one of the things that I say to people now is that if you get these types of calls where people are somebody who they say they are and they're looking for money or any kind of personal information, ask them a question that only they would know and you would know.
Yep. Right?
Because if they can't answer that question, then it's probably somebody using AI.
Or you verify on another communications method, right? Like most families, yes, you have the phone number, but maybe you have a family Discord, maybe you have a family group chat on Facebook, right? Use another platform to verify as well. Anything you can do to prevent that, though? Not really. Like you can't, like, it's like saying, how do you prevent someone from being randomly attacked on the street? Well, technically you can never guarantee that.
We can make it safer.
You can make it safer, but again, like, people have free will and people can choose to do bad things.
Yeah, exactly.
You can make bad things illegal, but that doesn't prevent bad people from doing bad things. Yeah. So you can never truly prevent that.
Yeah.
How would you catch an AI hacker using your voice? Well, if someone's, pretending to be you, they're going to have a data trail of their activities. And sometimes what investigators do is they simply follow the trail to see where it started from. Sometimes it's easier said than done.
It's getting harder.
But that's usually, people have a data trail.
And it's amazing how AI can replicate voices now so that it sounds like you're actually talking to the real person when in fact it's not.
If AI gets really bad, could it be banned or made illegal?
I don't think so. I think the toothpaste is out of the tube, right? Like, there's no putting it back. Like, I watched a video just recently where somebody says, people are saying that AI is inevitable. And they're saying, no, it's not. And I'm looking at them going, what do you mean, no, it's not? Here it is. It's there, right?
Yeah, there's two challenges. Number one, AI makes businesses a lot of money. So in a democratic society where money buys votes, it's going to be very hard for, and then you're looking at worldwide, there are some countries that say, hey, we don't want to prevent AI because here in North America, these companies that have ownership over IP law and have all these advantages. Well, other companies in other countries, they can now compete competitively against North American companies because they can use AI. So we can ban that here in North America, but what about other countries that want to have similar advantages as North Americans?
Like, there's an arms race right now with AI, right? It's kind of like the nuclear arms race. Well, there's an AI arms race right now.
Yeah.
And the problem is if you ban it in one country, you're giving an advantage to another country who could then potentially weaponize it and use it against you, right? So
yeah, or give them a commercial competitive advantage.
Yeah,
and then,
for sure.
I think that's a big conversation right now about, North America's competitive advantage in the market.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's, I don't see that really being banned.
No, I don't either.
Because it would give.
Do I see some guardrails being put in place? Well, for those countries that agree with it, sure. But for those countries who say, no, we're not going to do it, like Russia, well, then what's to stop? There's nothing, right? Like a law will only apply if the country's willing to apply it and, more importantly, enforce it.
There is no world government. Despite what some people think, there is no super powerful organization that runs the world.
Yeah. The Illuminati.
Yeah. Do you think the government could use AI to lie about the news?
Absolutely.
People use humans to lie.
Yeah, absolutely.
AI just makes it
disinformation, right?
Makes it easier and cheaper.
Absolutely.
Which is a commercial competitive advantage.
Again, this is why critical thinking is becoming so important in today's world of AI. Like, much like the internet became transformative, it changed the world, AI is now transformative. And we are definitely in the wild, wild west of it, where there's no scaffolding or borders put in place. So everybody's running wild with it right now. And so as a result of that, there come some benefits and there comes some dangers to it, right? And so these are things that people are working through. But what's killing me right now is, I think it was Facebook. It was actually Mark Zuckerberg who first said, build fast and break things, right? Like, okay. And then he kind of pulled that back a little bit, but we're seeing the same thing with AI now. It's like, move quickly because they want to be first to market to make the money, to have the advantage. And they're not really thinking about safety by design about some of this stuff. And as a result of that, any tool can be used good for bad, but I don't think there's enough people looking at the bad and how to go about preventing that, if at all possible.
Yeah. And almost everything is about AI.
Yeah.
Why don't we just get rid of it? Because it's here to stay. It's a commercial advantage. So businesses don't want to get rid of it. Governments don't want to lose their position on the world stage. And some governments want to be more competitive against others.
And this is why AI digital literacy for teens and youth is becoming so important, right? Like, if we can get them more digitally literate about this stuff at a younger age, well, then it's going to follow through as they get older.
Yeah.
So
what should I do if someone online says, I'm watching you? Context is important here.
Yeah.
Now, is every
Watching you do what?
yeah,
Right.
like what's the context? Like I'm watching you. Like, oh, are you cheating in a game? And they go, I'm watching you. Like, are they going to report you? Like, there's context there. But if I'm assuming the context you're alluding to is like, oh, someone's outside your house watching you. But
In your bedroom via your webcam.
yeah, but the challenge is every veiled threat going to be a police investigation matter? There's more important things for law enforcement to deal with, more critical, serious things. So to a certain degree, yes, that's concerning. Yes, context depending, potentially illegal, but at a certain degree, we don't have enough investigators to stop every bad thing that could be happening. So it's unfortunate, but we do have to kind of take it upon ourselves to go, hey, you know what? Block it, remove it, delete the person, get rid of them.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. Block, delete.
In a perfect world, sure, they'd be investigated and held accountable, but,
Depending upon context, right?
context, of course, context depending, but if we're assuming a more of a malicious
Insidious.
context, then ideally we'd want them investigated, but we have to be realistic here. What should I do if people try to bully me on social media?
Go for it.
Block, remove, and delete. It's simple as that. If they're being mean and rude to you, you block it, remove it, delete it. If they're breaking the rules of a social network, report the person's account to the network. If anything worse is happening, if someone is truly breaking the law against you, take a photo of it, show it to a trusted adult. Perhaps they can help you and guide you. Depends on what they're doing, but simply removing, blocking, and deleting solves most issues.
I'll do with this next one. What's the difference between being mean and being an online bully? Well, here's the difference. There's a difference between rude, mean, and disturbing behavior and what we call pure aggression or online bullying. Good example. A student came up to me once and said, Billy's bullying me. I said, well, what's Billy doing? And he goes, well, he's burping in my face all the time. Well, that's rude, mean, and disturbing behavior, right? That's not criminal or pure aggression. Online bullying or pure aggression crosses over into the criminal, like uttering threats, doing something like that. So that's the difference between the two. And because of that fact, the way we approach those two is going to be totally different.
Yeah. Is a 10-year-old sending threats a criminal offense?
I will answer that one. Depends upon the country you're in, but here in Canada, if you're under the age of 12, you are not criminally responsible for your actions. Now, can the police still take custody of the individual and deliver them to their parents? Yes, they can. But can anybody under the age of 12 be arrested, charged, and convicted in Canada? The answer is no. Now, that could differ from country to country, where the age is going to be a little different. But here in Canada, if you're under the age of 12, you're not criminally liable for your actions.
Yeah, there's also Youth Criminal Justice Acts as well. So depending on, courts, people who are teens do handle them differently.
But again, if under the age of 12, that act doesn't apply in Canada, right? So,
what's your opinion on a TikTok ban or an unban?
Go ahead.
I think I think there's more important things for governments to deal with than simply banning TikTok for, I'm assuming, political reasons.
That's the reason.
Economic reasons, potentially racial challenges there as well. Xenophobic challenges there too. So, there's nothing inherently wrong with TikTok. It's like any other social network, but oh no, China has all our data. Well, guess what? Facebook sells that data. So, if you're really concerned about that, you should pass laws that no personal data can ever be sold by a social network ever.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. It's like any other app. Do I go to TikTok? Sure, I do. There's some really cool things that happen on TikTok. Are there some really troubling things that happen on TikTok? Absolutely there are. It's how you use it. Now, the problem with TikTok, however, is its algorithm. That's what really makes it different. Like it's easy to get trapped by one of the algorithms that kind of pull you down a deep, dark black hole that maybe you don't want to go down. And this is especially important for young people who are maybe experiencing suicidal ideations, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, where all of a sudden maybe they're doing research on eating a healthy diet. And as a result of that, the algorithm now takes them more into eating disorder videos and pro anorexia kind of video on TikTok. So again, that's what makes it a little different. I personally do not believe that TikTok is appropriate for those under the age of 16, right? I just don't, just because of the algorithm that it uses. That's what makes it different. Where TikTok is going to be interesting, because you're right, it's owned by China, the company ByteDance. It's owned by China, and by law, they're required to provide any information over to the Chinese Communist Party. However, what's going to be interesting is to see how that could affect young people later on in life, where maybe they want to be an undercover operator or a spy, say with CSIS or the CIA, because if all of a sudden your face is captured, there's nothing to stop biometrics from now identifying you. Although as a spy, you're using a different name. They go, you're not who you say you are, right? So there's some interesting issues that it raises. But in and of itself, I mean, TikTok is just a tool like any other tool. It's how you use it. But I don't necessarily think TikTok is appropriate for those under the age of 16.
Should I delete my social media?
Why?
Is it causing you problems?
Yeah.
Are you using it inappropriately?
Context, right?
Yeah, by itself, nothing inherently wrong with social media as long as you're using it with purpose and intention, and you're having a healthy, balanced life outside of it. Then
we know teens who have earned scholarships and job opportunities because of their positive social media. So again, it all comes down to how you're using it, right? What is the intent of using social media?
Should parents limit social media access for their kids?
Depends.
Age dependent, I think, building a scaffolded environment.
Age and developmental dependent, right? Because again, like I say, like I know 13-year-olds who have the maturity level of an 18-year-old. I know 18-year-olds have the maturity level of a 6-year-old. So I think it's going to be child and family specific. I think having one set of rules for everybody just doesn't work, because everybody's a little bit different. But do I believe that parents should be putting things in place to help minimize some of the risks that some of these social media platforms, i.e. TikTok, have? Absolutely.
Which is safer, Snapchat or TikTok? Well, they both have different challenges,
exactly.
Right? The Snapchat's challenges, because it's more of a communications platform above anything. Yes, it has a discovery feed and whatnot, but it's more of a communications platform, which means that's a platform that's more challenging around, say, exploitation. TikTok being an open platform, the challenges around algorithmic bias and content you might be fed. So, I mean, I guess you're less likely to be exploited on TikTok, although TikTok has a messaging feature.
It does.
You can DM, but I think
TikTok can often act as a gateway to move somebody over into Snapchat, right? So it's used to off-platform, right? Where you meet somebody like an exploiter on TikTok through DMs on TikTok, and then all of a sudden hey, let's go to private chat over on Snapchat. So they'll use it off-platform for the purposes of continued exploitation, right?
Yeah. So, Snapchat has, timed messages, deleting messages, or vaults and whatnot. So if you are assuming what the worst could happen, I guess maybe TikTok, but I mean, either platform can be used for inappropriate reasons.
Yeah, there's a huge expose done on Snapchat recently where the investigator found all kinds of bad stuff. Again, it's not the app, it's how the app is being used. And is the person using the app, do they have the maturity level to understand the dangers and how they're being lured into doing things that they shouldn't be doing, right? So again, moving away from the stranger danger approach to this kind of stuff and moving more to the situational danger. And that's where maturity and understanding comes into play.
Yeah. No, not posting, but watching something on YouTube. Can that be tracked?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. YouTube records everything you watch and see. Your computer, your device will have a record of that. And the network, like your Wi-Fi network, will know that, hey, you're accessing YouTube. So, yes. Probably a question more for you, but how successful is your career?
This is a question for you as well. I mean, policing was an extremely satisfying career for me. I like to say that policing was my profession. I enjoyed my profession, had a good time. It offered me a lot of cool things. It provided for the family, right? Put a roof over my head, had good pension. And I had a good time. My passion, however, is working with you Aw. When it comes to digital literacy and internet safety and working with youth and adults and that kind of stuff. So, you know what? I've been very successful in both of my careers, both in law enforcement and now here at the White Hatter. What about you and doing what it is that you do here at the White Hatter? Because this is your career, right?
Yeah, well, for me, I started out in the academic world, and that was pretty successful.
He's the big brain.
Because I really focused on research, and I kind of had an objective when I started university. I kind of knew I wanted to do this kind of work. So I focused my electives, my projects on this work. So that has really helped me to excel here and has allowed me to better critique researchers and to become more of a voice and have more legitimacy in conversations, especially with other academics. So that's been really useful in this work that we do. And, for us, we're reaching more and more students every year. We're spreading our message, helping people as best we can. So overall, I think we're doing a pretty good job.
And I think that's primarily because of you before you came on, it was kind of me, and I was bringing more of a policing kind of a fear-based approach, which in hindsight was the wrong thing to do. And you brought in the academic approach as well as your personal experience approach, being the first generation of young people brought up in today's online world. And so as a result of that, we bring a much more balanced and nuanced approach to this topic that many others don't, right? Like, we could easily teach a fear-based approach and we'd probably get way more clients and way more money.
A lot more clicks and follows.
Yeah, but we refuse to do that, right? Like, we're not hopping on that gravy train because we just think it's not appropriate. It's unprofessional. We rather approach it from a good evidence-based, peer-reviewed research standpoint that is balanced in nature. Like, we do believe that social media has its strengths, it has its weaknesses. It can be both good and bad. And we actually find that most teens are using it in a very good way. Yes, there are some that aren't, and we talk about that as well. But again, approaching it from a balanced approach, we believe, is the better way to go, because banning it, prohibiting it is not going to work. It didn't work in the past with things like sex education and other things where the message of prohibition just doesn't work. So let's educate in an open and honest way with our kids to give them the information they need to make an informed decision. Thus endeth my sermon.
What are other jobs the White Hatter does besides just presenting? Well,
what don't we do?
Well, we people reach out to us and ask for help. That's one.
Yeah.
We advise people. Number two, we're constantly reading, researching, learning what other people are doing, commenting, critiquing, providing logic, making videos, podcasts, writing blog articles. We do a lot of free
consulting with outside agencies that are looking to implement social media into their everyday working environments. We help grandparents, parents, just a ton of stuff that we do. So
yeah, it's the presentations, the workshops we do that funds all of our advocacy and in helping people.
Because we don't charge for our advocacy.
No.
That's just an ethical approach that we've taken as a company. We know others that charge for that kind of stuff. We just don't. Ethically, we just don't do that. I classify us as a social capital company, right? We use a lot of the capital that we bring in to pay for the social outreach that we give for free.
Yep. And I don't know if I want to do a critique. I don't know. There are some nonprofit executives that make more than what we make in a year.
Don't get me started on that. But yet they can apply for all the grants, right? Like,
what benefit does that executive actually? Anyways, it's
a little bit of a thorny issue with us.
I don't know. Maybe we should just switch to a nonprofit and go for grants.
No, because then you leave it open to a board who's going to dictate what it is you're doing, and
that's going to be politically minded.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you have to filter our message.
Yeah, exactly. No, I like doing what it is we're doing. Social capital, right? We're, again, a balanced approach to business.
How would someone get into this kind of work or law enforcement?
From a law enforcement standpoint, one of the things I always say is that, get your post-secondary education, which is really important. But even today, we're hiring, or law enforcement now hiring a lot of people who do military service as well. So you don't necessarily need a degree. It helps for sure. It's more about life experience, life skills. If you're thinking about law enforcement, maybe becoming a police cadet and then on to becoming a police reserve. So you're getting some job exposure to see what it actually does, because it's a lot different than what you see on TV for sure. I mean, I like to say that policing was about 98% boredom and 2% excitement. You live for the 2% excitement, right? Kind of thing. And then, I mean, when it comes to doing what we do here at the White Hatter, Brandon, that's more about, if you're interested.
What we do is very different and unique. Mm-hmm. There's not very many people that do the presentation work we do, the advocacy work we do, the making free resources work we do. Now, when it comes to like online investigators working for the government or private investigators or network security professionals, you don't need to necessarily go to college, university. It can help you, but mostly that kind of work is based off of your skill, usually certificate training, mm-hmm. or where you have to basically pass some, we'll call it hacking exams, prove your skill. And if you can, achieve some obstacles, then you are rewarded a certificate that shows, hey, you know how to do this. And then the more certs you have, the more opportunities and positions you can fill.
I actually wrote an article on this. I learned I have over 700 articles. Brandon's brought this to my attention. Anyways, that's another topic. But I just wrote an article recently for parents and for youth to say, hey, listen, I know a lot of people that are graduating from universities now with degrees, and they're starting life $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in debt. And a lot of what they studied is no longer relevant because of AI. So, but when you look at the trades, oh my God, people that go out of high school go into trades, getting certification in the trades, and not just building trades, but also into cybersecurity via certificates. They're making big bucks in very secure jobs, right? Kind of thing. So, it's something to think about.
Or, I don't know, just do 1 year university and to do the very basic entry-level courses that really kind of open your mind to how the world works.
That's a little different if you want to be a doctor or something.
Okay, yes, that's different. Fair enough. Right, yeah, okay.
Right.
So, have you ever gotten in trouble for hacking? No, we don't do a lot of, like, I guess people call it pen testing, like actually going into systems. That's not really the work we do. We have some basic training, understanding to communicate.
We know people who do, though,
and understand what that world does. We do more of the investigative side of things, which isn't necessarily breaking into systems, but people who do that kind of work, it usually requires contracts to be signed, certifications to be held. They have insurance if something goes wrong. Now,
having said that, although we may not have done coding hacking and that type of, but we have done human hacking.
That's fair.
Right? For social engineering is a good example when it comes to fraud. And, we also use it for identifying who the threat is, right? So not going to get into much more detail on that, but.
Have you ever been involved in a case where a teen went missing due to stolen personal information?
No.
No, but you've assisted in some missing people's cases.
Yeah, several actually.
Yeah.
Several, right? Like we just worked on one recently where a couple of teens looked like they were lured and groomed by online commercial sexual predator, i.e. pimp, right? And helping to locate and track them down and that kind of stuff. So we've helped on a number of cases like that. We also helped in a case in Washington State that actually led to the arrest of an individual and a conviction for murder, right? So, yeah, kind of cool.
If you never had any tech in your life, what would happen? So is it you as a person, no tech, but everyone else around you has tech, or like no one ever has tech ever again? I guess there's two ways you can interpret that. I'm going to interpret it where you have no tech, but everyone else around you has tech. What would happen? Well, that could put you at a potentially competitive disadvantage if you're looking for jobs, right? I mean, what job doesn't require technology where you have to clock in with technology, submit a report with technology? I think every job, as far as I can recall, uses technology to some degree. Yeah. So if you have zero experience, but yet someone also applying for the job has any tech experience, then who's the better candidate for that position?
Exactly.
right? So, I don't know. Good luck making a living without any tech exposure. It's possible. But
depending upon the job you're looking for and that kind of stuff. Like, there are some jobs out there that don't require any tech, right? But I mean, in today's world, there's no doubt that those who have good, strong digital literacy background will have an advantage when it comes to most jobs, for sure.
do people sue the dark web? Who owns it?
Nobody owns the dark web.
No.
Can people in the dark web be sued? Well, if they can be identified, yes. But that's what makes it really hard in the dark web. It's there specifically to kind of hide who you are. But if law enforcement can identify who that person is, can they be arrested? Sure. Can they be sued? Yeah, sure. But it's quite difficult.
What if your phone is stolen? Well, you better hope you have a password on there and there's nothing secret and private you want to keep hidden.
Exactly. That's the issue, right? Like, I don't know about you, but my phone is set up so that and the only way anybody's going to get in there is with a passcode, number one. And number two, if I report it quickly as stolen, it locks itself out, right?
Yeah.
So,
or do remote wiping.
Yeah.
But if you have a phone with, no password, that is
unfortunately, that's how a lot of teen nudes get posted publicly, because somebody else gets your phone because it wasn't locked down. They go into your photo album and they see nudes, and what do? They copy it, send it to them, and then they post them online. Like, those things should be locked down.
Yeah. What if someone opens multiple accounts to get you banned?
That can happen.
Yeah, that happens.
It's weaponization.
Thankfully, there is, a lot of social networks. They're using AI now in order to detect someone from a single IP address has made 5 accounts, and yet they're banning you. So that kind of stuff is more difficult to achieve because AI is looking out for that.
Yeah.
So there is a benefit there.
Yeah.
Do you think newer generations are watching dangerous things online?
I'll answer that one. I just had a great interview with a group of high school students. I do it every year towards the end of the school year, just to learn about what were their experiences this year, right, with technology and stuff. And one of the things I can tell you is that this generation of youth at high school, middle schools, they've learned of the mistakes of the past, right? Like, they have. So as a result of that, they're more digitally literate. And because they're more digitally literate, they're more careful about what they're doing online. Having said that, will there still be some who want to tiptoe into the darker side of things? Absolutely. That's what being a teenager is all about. Like, when I think reflectively of things that I did when I was in high school, it's like, thank God I didn't have social media, right? So, but I do honestly believe that today's youth and teen have learned from the mistakes of the past. And as a result of that, they're more educated. And because they're more educated, they're not as likely to get involved in less than desirable online behavior.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So technically, we're never safe on live streams, social media, or calls.
I always say that. And my message is always, no matter what the platform, no matter what your privacy settings, always understand that as soon as you hit that send button, what you're doing is public, permanent, searchable, exploitable, copyable, shareable, and is being sold. Never forget that rule, right? Even in the US, some of the politicians down there learned very quickly that Telegram was supposed to was supposed to be private and encrypted. And guess what? Not so much, right? Yeah. Especially when they invite in somebody they shouldn't have, right? So it's like, it's just a fact of life. Even when you're streaming, like I talk about this when it comes to sextortion, like, these individuals are getting very good at using technology where you think you're streaming. Because in the old days, to make sure somebody was real, you would stream with them, right? Just to make sure that they're the real person. And if they said they didn't want to stream with you, the camera's broken, warning sign, right? Well, now with AI, a 55-year-old male can make themselves look and sound like a 16-year-old girl live as you're chatting with them. So that is what AI has kind of flipped the narrative a little bit, where today, everything online, I'm very suspicious of until such time as I can prove it real.
Yep. Yeah. But like anything in life, you can make things safer, right? It's like driving a car. Do you have a seatbelt on? You're going to be safer if you have a seatbelt on, right? It's all those, nothing is ever going to be 100% guaranteed safe in almost anything that you do in any part of your life.
Yeah, for sure.
It's what you do to make it safer.
Yeah.
I was told DuckDuckGo was only for conspiracy theorists. Is this true?
That's because Google doesn't want you to go to DuckDuckGo. They want you to stay on Google. So what better way to put out mis and disinformation? The answer is no. It's not for conspiracy theorists. What's the beautiful thing about DuckDuckGo is they don't track and sell what it is you're doing on their platform, whereas Google does.
Yeah.
So no, it's, for those people who are more concerned about their privacy online, DuckDuckGo is the better way to go, for sure. It doesn't make you a conspiracy theorist.
I don't know. If you're searching up, I don't know, let's say, look at it this way. Let's say you're looking up medical conditions. I don't know. I think, using DuckDuckGo would be a better option than, say, Google.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And we know that, insurance companies in certain countries do buy up data about people's searches and what they're searching for. So, that's
like a good example on Google. All of a sudden you're doing searches on certain issues, and then all of a sudden you get advertisements coming to you on Google on erectile dysfunction medication, right? Like that's what Google does. Yeah. DuckDuckGo doesn't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Although you have to be careful because although the search results in DuckDuckGo may not, be tracked, when you actually go onto a website
Correct.
that's linked in DuckDuckGo, that site can still be tracking and collecting information about you.
That's a good point. I'm happy you brought that up.
Some people think everything you do and anything you click on is like anonymous and not trackable. No. DuckDuckGo is a search engine. It is now your responsibility through private browsing.
That's
or
why
VPNs.
Using DuckDuckGo with a VPN is maybe a better way to go.
That's actually a pretty good solution, right? Yeah, with private browsing enabled.
Exactly.
Right? If you combine all those three together, you're gonna have a pretty private time on the internet.
Exactly.
Last one. Why are you kind of creepy every time you mention nudes, hooking up, or love?
Because I'm a 60-year-old boomer.
I think
that's the answer, right?
I think I know, because usually when those topics come up, we talk about nudes, or I think you're super cute, right? Like it's a performance. It's dramatic. It's a dramatic performance, right?
And I'm a 60-year-old boomer.
Yeah, and it is weird having an older person, maybe talk about nudes with teens, but we also, play that up because those are important topics, and the fact that you ask that question means that was a moment in the presentation that you remember.
Right. It's called edutainment. That's what we call it, right? It's education combined with entertainment to hold and capture attention.
Yeah.
Right. And like you said, it worked.
It worked. Right? It worked. That's the point. And if you want to label us weird because of that, we're okay with that, because the objective is for you to remember how to stay safe, prevent exploitation. And that's
what would be really weird is if I went nudes.
Yeah, it's just it's dramatic performance. Exactly. And it's we make things weird in order for you to pay more attention,
edutainment,
to certain things. Yeah. That's all that is. Yeah. Yeah. And apparently it works. Yeah. So thank you for confirming that. That's one of the reasons why we wear a big funny white hat. No one remembers our actual real first names, but everyone remembers the hat. Yeah. Again, it's just, there's no main purpose for it. It's just dramatic tools.
Edutainment.
There we go.
Some great questions this time.
Those are their questions. Thank you all so much. And I look forward to next month as we will answer more questions. Again, we don't always get to them all, but we love spending time each month to follow up on some of the top upvoted ones. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.